Hey guys, it's Paula. I am back this morning to attempt to show you what I do on the sewing machine when I do a new book. So first of all, I told you that I was going to be doing a little golden book, Frosty the Snowman, in our last video, or one of our last videos. So here's Frosty. Here's his spine. Now, I can't move my camera, but I'm holding it up for you to see, because it took me forever to figure out how to get my sewing machine in here. And it's got a red glitter with white glitter rickrack for the spine. And, of course, it's got Frosty. Cute, cute story. Now, the inside colors are green and red, and it's just kind of a mixture. So what I'm going to show you is what I do on my sewing machine whenever I'm getting it ready before I put it in the book. How I sew in the tucks, how I do the pages. I've got the book in order, and it's 2 signatures. We may not do both signatures. We'll just see how our time goes, but let's just create together today. Creating in such a way that we're sewing, and hopefully I can see for the camera. Okay, so we're going to zigzag, and when I zigzag, I always bring it up to like a 2 or 2.5, so that I can you know, not have to have it so tight on the paper, because the tighter it is on your paper, it can pucker up your paper. So you can't backstitch on my cross stitch. Hello, you can't backstitch on my machine. I haven't been able to figure it out. It's a pretty new machine, so I just tie it off on the ends, and I think that in the long run it probably looks better. I'd had someone ask me how I go so straight. I eyeball it, but there is a line right here on your pressure foot that will allow you to follow along here and get it perfectly straight. I'm too impatient, and yes, every now and then I have one that's not so straight. So we're going to get started, and hopefully this will not bore you. We will tie these off. We will tie these off later, or I will. I'm not going to worry about tying them off. I like to have a little bit of a space on each side of my coffee stain or tea stain paper. And then I just pull. I bring my pressure foot up, and I pull out enough that I can tie, and there you go. I hope the lighting's okay, because I don't have my normal lighting over here. Now, I do that. That's the front part after it's folded. My fingers still have dye in them. I have tried everything. I need to just get out some of my husband's strong acetate, or not acetate, but acetone. Then I open it, and I do the inside of the second page. And so this is the process I take for every single tea stained paper. I'm trying to get my thread back up here so it doesn't come unthreaded on me, because listen, I am blind, even with my glasses, when it comes to threading. Let me pull that out of the way. Maybe that would help. There we go. Okay. And I don't have a lot of room to work here. I know you've probably heard other people say the same thing when they're videoing, and I don't have the tripod is not standing from the floor. It's standing from the side. So that helps, but I still have to look around it. And so, anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm so glad that you can create with me today. I hope you're doing something fun along with me. Yeah, this is exactly what I do for every single tea stained paper in both signatures. It's the first thing I do. And then I slip it back where, you know, where it goes. And then I flip over until I get to the next one. Now, I'm doing this off to the side because I don't have room right in front of me. I would love to be able to do it right in front of me, but that's not real possible under the crowded circumstances. I'm going to do one more so you can see, or I'll just do the one signature as far as the coffee stain paper goes. I call it coffee stain, sometimes I call it tea, because I use both. This particular book has tea stain paper in it. But I just try to keep it, I just keep my eyes on it, relax into it, and just let it go straight. And most of the time, I don't have any trouble with it. See, you can see how straight it is. I don't know if it's because I can draw a straight line, or if it's because I just have coordination in that area. I sure don't have coordination in lots of other areas, like walking and not falling or dropping stuff. I definitely don't have coordination in my my hands anymore since they've been fixed, but I do, I guess, have coordination in some areas. But this, I mean, it's just fun, it's relaxing. This is the part of making a journal I really enjoy because, you know, you've already got your pages cut out, everything's measured, you've already got your little golden book ready to go into the book. And here's the second page. And you've already got your little golden book ready to put into the journal. And so that part is you know, I've not ever shown you how to do that. I do it the same way as Gail. I don't fold the pages over, and well, I do it similar to Gail. I think there are slight differences in how we do it, but it's really, I'll do a video on it one day. I just felt like since she had just done one that you guys could go check out her video. And if not, you let me know in comments below if you want me to do it, and I will show you how I actually take a little golden book and change it to go so that I can stitch it into the binding rather than leaving it long when I stitch it in. And it's more secure. It gives you an extra pocket, and yeah, it's fun. So I'm going to do this one, and then we'll move on to adding pockets. I cut a certain amount of pockets for each signature. When I'm doing when I'm cutting and putting papers together for the book, I also, at the end of that, I take the scraps and I make my pockets. And honestly, it comes out perfect. You still have scraps left over. So I don't put lace on the coffee stained paper. If I end up putting lace in a journal, I usually do it on the scrapbooking paper. And I don't do it on every single one. Because when I first started doing journals, I would do that. And it was just too much. Okay, so I am going to now, I'm going to bring my signature back over here and get it all straightened up. Now I will go back and tie all these strings off camera, because everybody knows how to double knot the end of a string. So this is the front of this snowman journal, and this is where the story starts. And see, the way that I used to do it, I learned from Gail as well. Hello, Gail. How are you doing? Anyway, and she came up with a brilliant way to change that. And I'm so glad that she did that. And she figured it out because people didn't like their pages being folded and so forth. So what we're going to do right now is it's going to not be super easy, but I'm going to take my pockets, tucks, and everything. See, like this is a couple pockets. And I'm going to put those in the second signature. I like to kind of do them different. Like I do my corner tucks like this, and then I round off the corner that it's going to face into. So like, see, this would be a set, and the corner here and the corner here are rounded. So we'll put that in the first set. And then we've got a green set here. I guess I did both of them the same. And it goes like that. And then I did a big tuck spot, which I have started doing, and both of them snowmen, so I can put one in each book. So I'm just sorting them out right now. And then sometimes you'll find big sayings in your book. And so I had one that said Happy Holidays, and I had to cut it off and use the bottom part of the page. So I thought, I'll just make this a tuck. And so I'm going to put it in the first signature. And here's another one. Have yourself a merry little winter. I had to cut winter off and put it over here, but because it wouldn't have been the right length. I'm going to put that one in the second signature. And I have a long belly band and a short belly band. I'll put the short one in the first one, and then I have an extra that I'll put in the second one. I thought, I'm looking here because for some reason I'm missing one page, which I can always go back and cut. It's not a big deal. Oh, there it is. I found it. All is well in the world. Okay, so I never put a pocket or anything on my very first page. And I usually go to the second scrapbook page and I pull it out, which it just so happens to be the snowman, which I'm like sad I have to put anything on him. So what I might do is just put one that I can stitch this way on. Oh, I've got to do something with that. So we've got to have a corner tuck there. Let's do that corner tuck first. I'm going to spread these little pieces out that I just showed you. I inked all of these little pieces, so you got to remember to do that because they will need it. Yeah, this one particular piece of paper didn't come out of the paper collection that all the others did. I'm going to put it on a straight stitch because we don't want to zigzag around this. It's just it looks a lot nicer to not zigzag. I try to sew everything on because, and you want to make sure everything's right side up, because I just think it looks nicer when it's sewn in, and it gives you more pocket space. When you glue it, you put glue along the ends and around the outside portion, but whenever it flattens out, it does give you less space. So just keep that in mind. It is you do have to take the time out to sew on your sewing machine, but at least you get a little more pocket space. I mean, at least that's the way I feel it works. And then I just trim off everything. So I covered up the price tag because Hobby Lobby has to put their price tag right on the paper. It's crazy. I don't think anybody else does that. So I'm going to grab up this side tuck and put on the other side. I'm thinking out loud in my brain here. Do I want to put this here? Because I think I might go back and put it here if I need the space. But I love this little piece of paper. So I'm going to have this one done. So I'm going to move on to the next piece of cardstock that's in. I try to keep my book in order the whole time I'm working on it. Because if not, it can make you crazy too. Okay, so the next paper is an ugly sweater paper, which I think is not so ugly. I think it's cute. I think on this one, I'm going to do inside here, I'm going to do a side belly band. So I always make sure it goes up into, see, I cut it just a little bit long, so I'll just trim that off afterwards. And I always, when I do a side belly band, I always kind of bring it up a little bit just above what would be center. And I make sure I have it straight to start with. And I do a straight stitch with this as well because I feel like it's that much more space you have. And you can back stitch, which is, I think, makes a big difference. I don't worry about how straight it is and all that because it honestly is, it doesn't matter. Trim this back off. I go through later and make sure everything's trimmed nicely as I go, you know, before I do everything on the book. Now we're going to do, this was how it ended up looking. We're going to come out here, make sure this is straight and there's no bow in it. And we're going to just do the very same thing. I've got my lamp right here to give us more light, and it keeps wanting to push my paper. I think it's important when you do your belly bands that you do back stitch when you start and when you end, because I'm going to cut this and let it drop into the trash, the strings, or the thread, I guess I should say. And I'm going to trim, I'm going to flip this over and trim this off, this little extra. Sometimes I just cut it a little longer than I should. And I'll ink that later when I go back through and double check everything. I have a tendency to go through and make sure everything's looking like it should. Okay, so now I'm going to do, I've got this little snowman, but he won't work on that side of the page. So let's see. Let's put one of our pockets. I'm trying to decide. No, let's do this. Let's do one of the side tucks. I actually have two for this book. So this was, I had cut an extra one. And I just line it up, and I always do the corners, round the corners, so that it's easier to put your items in your side tucks. I just feel like, you know, you don't have that pointed section. Sometimes I make them as long as the page, and sometimes I make them shorter. It depends on if I'm using something particular from the kit. And when I say kit, I mean like the paper pad or, you know, if I ever feel like my stitching is not up to par or it doesn't make me happy, if I feel like I was crooked or whatever, sometimes if I'm straight stitching, I will go back and do a zigzag stitch to kind of camouflage what I would call a poor stitch. Like this one was real close to being there just because I got so close to the edge. But overall, it looks okay. See, it's just not as perfect as I would like it to be. But I don't want to eat up space right here. If I were off of the paper, it'd be one thing, but I'm still on the paper. Okay, so we've got our side tuck on there, on that side, and our belly band, our side belly band right there. So let's move on and see what's next. Going to the next page, scrapbook page. And sometimes I have to go back and hunt for places to do particular things. So this time I want to put a pocket on the front. Let me get my paper up in here. On the front page of the scrapbook paper. Now I want to center it as best I can, but I don't want it to be in the spine area. So I usually pull my pockets to the right of the page, and I just make sure they look straight to me. I don't get my ruler out, and I haven't had any problems. So you just want to hold it in place once you decide what looks good. Okay, now you hang on to that pocket, and you're going to put it under, and we're going to straight stitch around it as well. And my thread wants to follow me everywhere I go. Okay, now these corners can be a little tricky, but if you take your time around the corners, it will be fine. And you back stitch when you start and when you end. And I usually back stitch off of the pocket. That way I don't have to worry about it coming loose on whoever purchases the book. Now I get to a certain point and I just raise my foot up and take one stitch at a time and turn it. If I can't turn it, then I raise up my pressure foot till I get it where I feel like it's as perfect as I can get it. Now, again, I'm not overly picky about, this is one journal in a person's life. And I understand that most people that journal have so many different ones. And so I don't worry about it being super perfect. I sometimes will get one that's kind of wonky. Don't worry about it. As long as it can hold your tags or your journaling paper or whatever it is you might want, that's all that matters. I try to do it absolutely as neat as possible. Don't get me wrong. That's my goal. But I don't tear the book apart because of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's not that critical. Now, a lot of people don't like when you can see stitches on the back of your pages. Well, to me, that's just part of it. I try to put stuff on both sides. If like after the stitching is done, like it kind of knotted up a little bit at the beginning. Let me show you what I mean. See, you can put a piece of ribbon. You can put a big embellishment on the back of that page. You can put a journaling card and make it into a pocket just to cover up if you don't like seeing the lines. Here's how the stitching came out. So it came out all right. All right, so now I always try to add something on both pages because let's go ahead and do a little side tuck. That's not going to work because it's got to be on the other side of the page. But we have our little snowman. He will work. I've started putting in what I call long tucks, so that it's for bigger things. Because sometimes you have those small tucks, and you really could use one that will hold it in a little better. Or I kind of feel that way. My paper's getting hung up on my lamp. And I backstitch there. Okay, stupid lamp is. If I don't have it, the only thing I dislike about my sewing machine, and I noticed it right away when I turned it on, is it's dark under here. The lighting is poor. This is a Brothers sewing machine, and it's a Laura Ashley, and it's really pretty, and it has like, you know, 100 stitches or something. But I don't understand why they can't do better on their lighting. I mean, I've always had Singer machines, but I've not been happy with the last couple I've had. So, all right. So now we can see what he looks like, the little side pocket. I will go back after and ink anything that I had to trim off or anything like that. And I go right here on the back side of where I just stitched. Whenever you stitch on your machine, it will pull the guts from the center of your paper out. So basically the inside of your paper, even when it's double-sided, is white. And so the stitch will pull it out. And so you see the little white spots. I will go back and ink over those. And you will not notice them near as much. Okay, so we're going to move to the next page. Let's see. Now, if it's the center page, I try not to put anything on the center page. Because it just ends up not being as pretty. For some reason, I had the center page folded the wrong direction. And if I find that I run out of paper, let me get this straightened up, which I shouldn't because there's like several in here. I just go back and add like on the page I told you I didn't want to use, the snowman one. I go back and I will add something on that page. I still have a tuck, so I think we'll do the little tuck right here. And we'll figure out where we'll do the other stuff next. I think I'm going to flip it this way. You have to kind of maneuver this paper because, I mean, who would have thought 10 years ago, or maybe even longer than that, it's been like 10 years ago for me, that you would be stitching on your scrapbook paper. I mean, seriously. I use it on paper more than I do anything. Now, we're not going to do the second signature. I don't want to bore you to death. But I will show you how I will stitch around tags some, and I'll stitch around other things, you know, like journaling cards. Like I had some white thread in before I put this red in, and so there was some things I wanted to stitch. So there we have a belly band on both sides, but there will be other papers in between, so it will separate them. That's the nice thing about it. Now we're going to thumb through here and see where I'm going to look through here as we're visiting and see where we can put a pocket and a side flap. And I don't know where that's going to be. So we'll just have to figure that out. And sometimes if that happens and I run out of spots to put things, I will go back and put them on some of the heavier paper I might have put in the book. Okay. I'm looking here. Sorry, guys. I think I'm going to use, I have some parchment paper in here. I think that's what this is called. I can't remember. It's the kind of paper you use for resumes, and I can't think of it. I think it's parchment. No, that's not right, I don't think. I don't have the box in here. I've been tea staining in the other room, and so that has kept me busy. Okay, so we're going to do a pocket right here. And again, I'm pulling it out to the right side. You want to do all your sewing machine stuff at the same time at one setting. You want to do that before you put it into your book. Like the next thing I will do is bound this into my book. And go very slow around the corners. You might have to bring your pressure foot up. Whoops, making sure I didn't move my paper. I kind of have to keep one end of my paper up so it doesn't get hung on anything. So you don't want to go fast around your corners, because you for sure will not get a pretty corner out of the deal. Oh, goodness, I almost didn't make it. I almost went off just then. It got a stitch ahead of me. If all else fails, just stop and don't just continue, you know. And sometimes it's easy to forget to not do that. Oh yeah, I didn't go off. I just thought I might have gone off. I'll show you what I was talking about. And again, now we have another one of these on the back. And I'll put something back, like I'll put something on the back. You know, something that we make or something like that. See, I thought I'd gone off, but I didn't. Wasn't even close. Okay, so over on this other side, I think on the outside, actually, I'm going to put Have Yourself a Merry Little Winter. Now, this side tuck is not as long as the other one. It's actually wider, but I couldn't make it any longer because I was using scrap papers, which is how I always do it. But I'm going to go to the very end of the paper because there's not very much there that, so I just decide at this point, oh, okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and include the whole page. It just gives it a better decorating, it looks more decorative. Okay. I hope you guys are making something fun. I'm doing what I do every day. Making journals. I just go from one to the next one. Okay, so everything is stitched into Signature 1. And all we've got to do is we will go back and tie off the strings, put any ink where we've had to trim something, and then that will be ready to put into a book. Now, I'll stitch these others, Signature 2, later. I'm just going to show you Where did it go? I'm looking as we talk. I'm going to get some journaling cards. I'll show you the ones I did off camera with white thread. I just didn't want to have to thread my machine while we were on camera. What I do is I gather everything and keep it in a bag, like journaling cards and any little pieces that I might want to do something with. Like here's some journaling cards. And I like to add stitches to some of them. This one should have been white, but I didn't do it. So it's not going to, well, it could be red, I guess. And some of them are too small to be stitched. I'm just looking to see. I may have already looked at all of these, but I'll show you the ones I did. Let me get into the ones I did. Okay. So I did this one and I zigzagged. And see, I just think it adds a little something extra. This has a giant one here, which I really like. There's no place like home. It's a Wizard of Oz phrase. And here's one that I did not stitch. Let's see. Here's one I stitched. Now, I like to zigzag on these journaling cards when I can. Whoops, there we go. And I think that's all. So I think we'll stitch on this one in the red just so I can show you how I do it. I'm sure most of you know how to stitch, but just in case there's somebody who's brand new, I always put it on 25 or 30 when I do this. I'm going to stitch on this side. Now this time you're going to have a zigzag stitch, so you got to pay attention where your needle lands at the beginning and at the end. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're coming into the edge, and your zigzag goes to the right, then it goes to the left, to the right, to the left. You always want to end it with plenty of space, and you want to end it on the left. So I'll show you. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to go slow at the end so I can watch it and make sure I have plenty of space. Right, left, right, left, right. Now that's where I'm going to stop. Now lift it up and turn around. And I'm really pretty close. So I could easily go off the page if I wasn't careful. And I was real close there. So this time I need to stop sooner. Oops, and I didn't. This is a hard thing to figure out. But you will. It just takes some time. I'm still not perfect at it. I learned this from Tracy Fox. Hi, Tracy. She did a demo of doing corners and rounded corners and zigzag corners, and her stitching is beautiful. Okay, so one more to the left. Yeah, the number of stitches is coming out. And I'll show you what it does whenever you make sure your stitch lands the right way. It does make a difference in how it looks. See how it ends up? If you make sure it comes this way, it will be like almost like an M in the corner. That one was, see how close it was? I actually went off a little bit. This one I did a little bit better. But this one I did correctly. You just have to practice doing it, because it's not it's not that easy. Well, it's not the most difficult thing in the world, but it's, you know. And then I tie off the corner because I I don't want it to ravel out for whoever ends up with the book. There wouldn't be anything more frustrating than that. So, I decided, you know, I know we did the file book the other day for part 1 of my design team. I've decided not to use that for this month's design team. I decided on a different product or different design for this month. And so we're going to be doing something different, and I will do a video and show you guys what that is. All right, guys. I hope you're having a great day. I love you guys. If you could give me a thumbs up, that would be super great. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We have this is just a small demo of stitching in the books, but I just wanted to show the ones who are new at Junk Journaling. All right, guys. I will see you soon. All right. Have a great, great day. Bye.